Namaskar and welcome back to Rudra Vedic Jyotish. I am Neha Darvi and we were learning about the five elements. In our previous video, we went through an introduction to the five elements. From now onwards, we will look at each of the five elements in detail. We will start with the first element, that is ether. Ether is space. The ether element, as we have already seen, is present everywhere. There is empty space even in our bodies, in various parts. It's in our ears, it's in our nostrils, it's in our mouth, in our stomach, etc. The ether element rules the sense of sound. Any sort of sound can be heard through our ears. Hence, ears are the sensory organs for the ether element. The sound that is commonly produced through our bodies is usually through our mouth or our speech. Hence, speech is the motor organ or the organ of action for the ether element. This space is forever expanding. And as it expands, it creates within itself or makes available more space. Thus, the function of the ether element is that of availability and expansion. When we say space is everywhere, it means it is always present. For instance, if someone calls out to us, we simply know by hearing our name. Likewise, if you are seated in one place in a room and you want to pass on certain instructions to somebody who's seated at a distance, maybe in the same room or probably in another room, you can only just speak to them and they will understand you just by the knowledge from the instructions that you give them through your speech. Whether or not any other sense is working, the sense of sound is almost always active, even during sleep. When we are asleep, we cannot see. Our eyes are closed. We do not necessarily wake up to the smell of something. We do not even wake up when we are rigorously moved at times because we are fast asleep. We do not taste any food to wake up. But when the alarm goes off, we are instantly pulled out from our slumber. The planet Jupiter represents the ether element. A dominant Jupiter in a birth chart can be judged by superimposing its connection to the ether element with the personality of a person. For instance, a person with a dominant Jupiter in the ascendant house can have larger than usual ears. Wherever Jupiter sits in a birth chart, it is bound to provide you with the opportunities related to that particular house. However, it will also harm certain aspects of the said house. We will connect Jupiter with the various features of the ether element when we learn about the planets in detail. There is no constellation and zodiac sign that represents the ether element. Space is a vacuum, and there is no sound in space. But sound exists in space. Then how does sound travel when there is no medium to pass it on from one point to another? How can we hear anything? More about that in our next video. Stay tuned until then. I am Neha Darvi. Namaskar.